Hey guys, it's me. It's Queen Onset Haru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask An Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. So, someone asked me to explain my categorizations of people and how you can change your categorization if you choose to. The way that I categorize people, I told you before in another video that I'm going to link underneath here. There's the dark or the negative versus the positive or the light. So you have those two different individuals. In literature, they call it the antagonist, the negative, and the protagonist, the positive. But also, I've added a third category, which is the gray or neutral. I got this from playing Dungeons and Dragons when I was a young girl. So it seems to me that there are three types of individuals and that all of us fit somewhere into this categorization, and you don't have to stay in your categorization. If you are a dark person, you can become light. It's not very usual, but it can happen, and vice versa. So they wanted me to explain what these categorizations are. So I'll leave the link to the positive versus negative. And today I will explain the neutral or the gray. The neutral gray person is a person who's in the middle. You can't really tell sometimes if they're a good guy or a bad guy because they do both. This person is actually the majority of most people. I put most people into the middle. Most people to me are gray or neutral. Very infrequent that you meet somebody who is totally negative, totally evil. It does happen. It happens with narcissists. It happens with people who are psychopath or sociopath. We all have seen these kinds of people. But it's not the norm for a person to be that negative all their life. Or on the flip, for a person to be positive and light is not something that a lot of people really aspire to. That's something that some people fake at, to get some kind of riches from or some kind of a recognition from. But the average person, think about it, who really aspires to be compassionate? Those are the kind of things I talk about at Ask An Aquarius. And a lot of you guys really take well to the concepts or have thought about these things or try to embody these things yourself. But honestly, we all know that most people don't. Most people don't. They fit right in the middle. And what does that neutral gray area look like? Well, think about when you were a kid and you were doing literature. There was the protagonist and there was the antagonist. The gray or the neutral person is right in the middle of that. They're on the fence. When you think about the Harry Potter series, and I talk about this one because it's the one I know the most, think about the characters. The light character would be Harry. The protagonist, the positive character is Harry. The negative, the dark character is clearly Voldemort, That's why I call my ex-situationship Voldemort, because it's a monster with no redeeming qualities, no light, no love, no goodness, nothing. And these people can pretend to be good. They can pretend to, be caring, but that's all it is. They're just mimicking what they saw with another person. Okay? So then in the middle, you're like, well, okay, what's the neutral? What's the gray? Severus Snape. Severus Snape is, for all intentions, a good guy. He's fighting to save the wizarding world. He saves Harry's life more than once. He actually kills Dumbledore so that Malfoy won't have to do it and his soul won't split. So he takes on that burden himself because Dumbledore has to be killed at a certain point, So Severus Snape is a good guy, but he spends the whole series bullying the kids. He smacked the crap out of Harry one day, and for all intents and purposes, he's very miserable. But we find out why later on. So Severus is a perfect example of somebody who is gray or neutral. It means that they are generally a good person, but some of the times they don't always live up to their own expectations, you know? And that's why I put most people on the planet into gray, because most people do the right thing most of the time, but they have these moments where they act a fool, where they cuss somebody out, where they lie, where they do something treacherous. That doesn't mean it's them all the time, but maybe let's say they're trying to get away with something, like they lied to their mom or they cheated on their girlfriend. They don't want her to find out. They generally are a good person, but they made a really big mistake, and then they know she's going to leave him. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about when I talk about gray. It's a person who has the characteristics of both. And usually they're mostly light. They're mostly positive. But at different times, when things pop off, they may do something they ain't got no business. Okay? That's what a gray person is. And if somebody is gray, they typically will either go one way or the other. They will continue to be gray in many cases, but if they choose to, they will veer off to the left or they will veer off to the right. So they may end up being light at some point in their life, and they may end up being dark, totally dark, because if you do enough dark things, it takes over your soul. So it just depends. Like if they occasionally tell a little white lie, or they occasionally don't do the right thing, they might just stay gray. But if they see in themselves what they're doing and they don't like it, and they say, you know what, I'm going to start being a better person. I'm going to start being compassionate. I'm going to start having mercy. I'm going to start telling the truth. Then they go more towards being light. But if they do enough gray things that they self-destruct and say, F it, I'm just going to be, you know, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it, then they go towards being dark. And that dark path gets worse and worse and worse. When I first knew the real life Voldemort, my ex-situationship, he was gray. He was very gray, very much in the middle. And over time, because of circumstances and because of mistakes that he's made, he's gotten darker and darker and darker. His cruelty has gotten more. He's gotten more negative. I've noticed that the friends that he had, most of them are gone, or they come back and forth. Sometimes they'll fuck with him, sometimes they don't. You know, it's like he's gotten darker over time. And that's what happens with a gray person. Now, I was gray, leaning towards dark at that time, and went through all of that stuff and decided that I wanted a better life. I wanted to be a better person. So I went towards the light. I went towards being positive. It's a choice. People ask me, how can you be a lighter person? It's nothing more than a choice. It's just choosing, I want to be a better person. I want to stop being treacherous. I want to stop lying. And then doing it. You know, it's easier than you think. Because some people ask me, how do you not lie? That's impossible. What the hell do you mean it's impossible? It's easy. It's easier to be honest than it is to lie. And people don't realize that, especially when they lie all the time. But it's much easier. It's like you don't have to remember anything. You know, somebody said to me once, he said, every time I ask you that question, you give me the exact same answer. And I said, because I'm telling you the truth. I don't have to remember anything if I'm telling the truth. But if I'm telling lies and making shit up, I have to remember every lie. And I used to be good at that, but I started to get old and I started to forget details. And I was like, this ain't working for me. This is not working for me no more. So it made sense when it was time for me to do priestess training to start being honest instead. And it works. I've never had a time. The only time it becomes difficult to be honest is when I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. And when I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, I just don't say nothing at all. I just don't say nothing. I'd be like, okay. And I just don't say anything. And they're pissed at me like, why won't you say anything? And I'm just like, because if I say something, it's not going to be good. And if I can't lie to you, I got to tell you the truth. The truth ain't good. So I just don't say nothing, you know? So that's the only really time it's difficult. So for somebody, the young lady said, if you're gray, how did you become light? That's all. You just look at the things that you're doing that are dark. What things are you doing that are treacherous? What things are you doing that are dark? What things are you doing that are not good, that are negative? Stop doing them. That's it. That's it. That's all you have to do. Start just, telling the truth, being an honest person. Don't be treacherous, if you're with somebody, keep it real. Don't be out there in the street cheating and acting crazy, have some integrity, that's it. That's all. You just go from being, you just look at yourself, and you don't have to tell anybody else what you're doing. Just look at yourself and be honest about what you're doing. So like I said, unfortunately, like I said before, people who remain gray, who remain neutral, have to decide at some point in time if they want to be better or stay as they are. The real bad part is when you become worse. That's the real bad part. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to keep doing so many dark things that they take over your soul. You don't want to keep being cruel to people, harming people, and being childish, immature, negative. You want to come away from the dark energy, from the dark behavior. And you want to come towards more positive behavior. And pretty much that's it. And this is not just for Aquarius. These categorizations work for all human beings. I say them like I'll say a dark Aquarius, a positive Aquarius, a gray Aquarius, But this works for any zodiac sign. Every human being, in my opinion, fits into one of these three categories. And the question is, are you happy with your category? If you're in a category and you're happy, if you're in a dark or negative category and you're happy with that, which to be honest with you, I don't know anybody dark or negative that's happy. They're all fucking miserable. And that's why they're dark, because they're miserable. Think about Severus Snape. Severus Snape, who I said was gray, and is gray, but the times when he was negative was when he was in his misery. So they're usually in that space. But if there was a person who was in that space and they were happy in that space, which I seriously doubt, stay in your space. If you're gray and you're good in that space, then stay in your space. I looked at my space one day and was like, this is not who I want to be. It's a very personal decision. It's not something that somebody can tell you to do or something that you do for another person. I looked at myself and said, I want to be better than this. I got more in me than this. I can be compassionate. I can be merciful. I can be better to people. I can do better. I chose to do better. I could have just stayed gray and kept doing the things that I was doing. But I didn't feel as though I was prospering like that. And I started to prosper when I started to do better, you see. So it's a personal decision, okay? All right, guys, I will see you later. Let me know, what are you? Are you dark? Are you light? Or are you gray? And are you happy with your category? Let me know what you think. I'm going to leave underneath here my email in case you want to get a tarot or oracle card reading. I'll leave my PayPal in case you want to give me a love donation. Thank you all for the donations. I will also leave my email if you want me to answer a free question. I'll leave my social media. And you want to hit me up on, what's that, Facebook and Instagram. Leave me a thumbs up if you like this video. And pass it on to somebody else who was wondering, what do I mean by that? What is gray? What do you mean a gray person? So let them know what we're talking about. See you later.